Today on the Videomaker podcast, Chris and I talk all about advice for freelancers. So if you are a freelancer or you want to become a freelancer, hopefully we've got some tips in here which you'll find useful. A lot of it isn't the most exciting stuff. There's a lot of stuff in here about just like running a successful business. But that's frankly what you have to succeed at if you want to be a freelancer, if you want to make this a career where you have no boss. So actually, that out of the way, I wanted to tell you guys all about this sort of push we're doing to try to get more reviews on iTunes. So you may know that iTunes is like the place where people get their podcast. It really is still the king of the hill, even though Spotify's making a run at it. So that being said, we're still trying to get some more reviews here. So in order to try to incentivize more of these written 5-star reviews, I'm going to read you one. And all you have to do if you want your review read on the show is give us 5 stars, write the review, and then in the next episode, I'll read another one. So this first one here is from RC Pets 3, who says, "This is a great podcast for anyone interested in honing skills, broadening capabilities, and improving the quality of every project you put your money and effort into. The information is very practical, often enlightening, and always inspiring. Thank you very much, RC Pets 3. That is very kind of you. And again, if you want your comment read, go to iTunes and leave a 5-star review. And we will hopefully read it, as long as it's not, obscene or something. So with that out of the way, let's get on with the show.
When was the last time you were stuck in post-production, needing visual effects services like rotoscoping, match moving, or compositing? Or how about green screen editing, beauty retouching, and color grading? With quality visual effects and sound design, there is no such thing as too good to be true. Fiverr is home to thousands of sellers who offer services that can transform any visual from ordinary to captivating and engaging. Okay, so your production may look good, but what's the point if it doesn't sound good? Sound designers can create and edit your needed sound effects to add a whole new level of experience. From audio engineers to Foley artists that make sure you get the exact sound you want. Fiverr has all that you need for your post-production. Let Fiverr bridge the gap between your imagination and your final production.
Welcome to the Videomaker podcast. I'm Mike Wilhelm, and with me, as always, is Chris Monlux.
Hello.
And Chris, we got another podcast with no guest.
Yeah, that's 2 in a row.
Yeah.
It's almost like we shot these right after one another.
Yeah, I've been trying to look at our podcast metrics to figure out, are we better off with a guest or no guest? Like, what do people actually like?
Mm-hmm.
And I can't find any pattern.
Yeah, maybe everybody's got to tell us. And we can, bring up your quote on your comment on here, and we'll talk about it and discuss you.
Yeah, there you go.
And we'll pull up your YouTube page and see how much we like you or something. I don't know.
And then we'll call you.
And then we're like, really, we need some personal information from you.
So topic for today is career advice for freelancers.
Yeah.
Freelancing is a great way for people to sort of get started. A lot of people do this, right, where they make video for a friend or a family member or something like that. And one thing leads to another in the sense that you get a referral to something else.
Totally.
And likewise, some people do the reverse, where they start out in the industry working full-time or part-time for an employer, and they realize partway through, boy, I don't need this employer. I can kind of do this on my own and make my own schedule and all these other things. So this is advice for you folks who are either in that position now or want to be in that position.
Yeah, I want to tell a little story here. So it's Devin, who is one of he's written for us, and I think he's been on our show here before.
Yeah.
And I was talking to Devin just last week, and Devin worked for me at the TV station. I hired him right out of college, so he was working a 9-to-5 with me, doing the grind, and I don't think he liked the grind, but he was working hard. He went actually to San Antonio, came back to Chico to be a freelancer. And I think the reason why is he just wanted to not have to wake up when he wanted to wake up. He wanted to work when he wanted to. He wanted to be able to say no. And I think he saw a path to be able to make a living as good as he did before, but doing it all under his own control. And I asked him, because I haven't seen him all year, and we had a picnic lunch just down the street, and we're talking, and he's like, what have you been doing? Well, I haven't done any traveling. He usually does some traveling for production and whatnot for things. And, I'm like, are you getting any gigs otherwise? And, he's got some work and that kind of thing. And he's like, but really, I'm not working for the rest of the year. I mean, and this was October. This is the end of October when
He
I
said that in a celebratory fashion.
Yeah, it was. This wasn't like I don't have any more work for the rest of the year. This is I don't think I'm going to work for the rest of the year. And it's like, okay, that's the dream, right? That's the like.
It depends really on the tone of his voice.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't think this was like I'm out of work. But and this is, I know his intention. He wanted to be able to go to the gym and spend time doing that when he wanted to, and work at night if he wanted to. Just the control of your time that you have as a freelancer. And for him, he's very talented. Luckily, has a lot of connections here to people that sell advertising and otherwise in town. But when I was talking to him, it became kind of clear because we were talking about his demo reel, and he was making a new one because I think he's going to be farming for new work maybe in 2021. Yeah. But either way, he was spending some time in his free time just to kind of working on that stuff, and it got me thinking of like how in this day do you grow your freelance space when it's hard to get with people? How do you make those connections that are so important in small business? Yes. How do you do that? And what, how do you open yourself up and those kinds of things? And I went down to, telling them like, well, you should make a reel just for your drone stuff. And then that way you can just put it out there and be very hyper specific about it so people can hire you for that thing. And then, you got a gig here, gig there, might be a documentary. It needs to be in town, do an interview, to have your stuff here, do your interview shots instead of giving this 15-minute montage of all your footage and stuff. Do a bunch of 30, 45-second things of your best shots of you doing that specific thing. And if they want to see a bunch of other things, and I think he's going to do some kind of hybrid of that. But it got me thinking of like, are you putting yourself on like Fiverr or, how are you getting work outside of your space, outside of your doorway? Online is a great place, but do you open yourself up to doing work for the world? How do you market yourself and doing those things? And I think that's going to be it's a complicated thing because I think a lot of people are hanging on to the dream of whatever they were doing before. And I think right now requires people to pivot regardless of what your dream is or even where you're at. So, just trying to do the best you can to be a freelancer. So that was kind of where I came from with the idea of us doing this podcast because, freelance can be all about the work you've done, not necessarily the work you're going to do, right? So every time you do a job and you do it well, hopefully that person not only hires you again, but tells someone else.
Yeah. So Chris, you mentioned a number of things. I want to sort of peel back the layers here. So there's 3 pieces of advice that were sort of buried in this. So one is it's important to network.
Totally. And that can be difficult right now.
Yeah. Maybe we'll start there. So the ideal situation is enough people where work is just sort of coming at you.
It just keeps on coming.
Exactly. And you're declining work now and then, or you're booking work into the future, as in like you're working on a project now. Someone's coming to you and say, well, I'll have time to start your project in the future.
Totally.
That's like the best case scenario.
Perfect.
You want that.
And you don't have to spend any time or effort to keep the work coming. That's always the hardest thing. I don't like selling myself. So like going out there and being like, hey, you need some video work? I do good work. Come take it out. Yeah. But that networking, it's just more of sometimes it can be just working with someone. It might not even be the work you did. It might just be, I really liked working with you. It was fun. Or you were responsive and I have a boss that really needs answers and you had answers for me. Yeah. Those things can come in very valuable, and you don't know how valuable they are until that client sticks around for a really long time and gives you a lot of business.
Part of that is just making sure that a lot of people know that you do video work. Mm-hmm. So it happens all the time here at Videomaker where someone will they'll either like literally walk in the door off the street, or they'll contact Matt, our publisher, or they'll send an email to me and they'll go, I need some video work done. Who do you know that's any good? Yeah. I don't need the video work. We got Chris. Yeah. But but at the same time, I know a few people, and those people have just been good networkers. They make sure that people like me and Chris know who they are. Totally. Because people come to us asking. And so, just sort of spreading your name around, whether it's just like going to events, and I don't know if the events are going to happen, but digital events or something, that are in relevant spaces, and making sure people know you. So for example, going to what is it called? The Home and Garden Show here in town. I don't know if they're doing a digital Home and Garden Show,
No,
but these are people who they have services and they make referrals all the time.
yeah. And the thing I think about sometimes getting your name out there is you don't have to be that shtick of like, hey, I'm great. It's, hey, when you need some video work, give me a call.
Yeah.
That's all it needs to be, because, seeds sow and they'll grow into a need. Not everybody's ready to buy today, regardless of what you're selling. So sometimes just being out there and being a resource. I mean, you're my video guy. I mean, someone's going to want to call you that when they need, if they have, it's just like, I got my car guy and my insurance guy, that kind of stuff. You're the video guy. And so I think that really can play well, recommendations, all that kind of stuff. I think one of the biggest things, especially when getting recommendations, is try to figure out how to not say no. And not in the way of like letting people take advantage of you or, not saying no to projects you shouldn't be doing, but in the way of like someone says they have a job for you and maybe you don't have the capabilities of doing it, but before you say no, think of it creatively. How can I do this? If it's not that I can't, it's that I'm not able to at the moment. So how could I become? So could I hire someone? Could I buy a piece of equipment? Those kinds of things. Could I just learn? What is the thing that you need to do those things? And I think trying to find the resources so that you have those things to go to when you get this, like, hey, I need X, Y, and Z. You're like, well, I've done X and Y, but I've never done Z. Maybe I just hire somebody else to do that. But either someone local that does it. I know that before I definitely knew creative, like shared workspaces where there was a, web designer, a graphic designer, a video producer, all in the same space so that they all bounced off each other. It was like the same guys they're building the website for, they might need a TV commercial or, a Yelp review or some kind of thing like that. And so the stuff kind of sprinkles on itself. And so it's good to do that. And also know just people that are influential, right?
Yeah.
Like if you know someone that's out there, I mean, this is the thing Devin really benefits from is we worked at the TV station that was locally here and he knows all the salesmen that are there. And when they're in a bind, they're going to go to the guy that can get it done and he's available and they know he's a known entity. They know even if it's more money than they're used to spending or whatever else, I know Devin will get it done and he'll get it done. And that's a really important thing because that will continue to pay dividends year over year. If you have a client and you're only expecting to play with them, have them as a business partner for a year, I don't know. I want to think long-term. I want to make sure that when those people leave that company, you guys want to, share a bottle of wine together or something like that, that I think it's important to have those relationships to build and they're going to continue to pay off as long as that person's available to interact with you. And those are the things you should really protect.
I would go even one step further than that and say, be the person who is helpful in all scenarios.
Yeah.
So that, if someone comes to you and says, do you know anyone who cleans windows? You want to be the person who goes, oh yeah, I know so-and-so, or further beyond that, like, no, but give me an hour and I think I can find someone who can do that, right? You want to be the person that everyone comes to when they have a problem they need solved. And that is your opportunity to jump in to make some money off the situation if you can.
So, well, the thing about problem solving too is when I have problems that I can't solve, I'm willing to throw money at it. You become more willing to solve that problem some way. And so, when you have a problem, you need to get it solved. It's great to have someone that wants to help you solve it, and having that on your team, even if it's freelance, that's the way to go. And I think that this comes to like, it goes down to when you're also working with these people, with anybody, over promise or under promise, over perform. I almost said it wrong, the opposite way, but that it's just setting up expectations. These are not things that, aren't confines, due dates, those kinds of things. You can work around those a lot of times, but, working and trying to stay within what the people want you to do, even if what you do ends up being something a little different, even, as long as they're feeling like you're going down their path and that's going to set you up for the next time. Cause it's like, oh man, he got done with that 2 days early. And it's like, no, it took me exactly the time I thought it was going to. I just gave it to you 2 days before I said I was going to. And it didn't really change any reality for you, but for them, they got it early. And that's valuable to someone that might make money off of you or off of the work you did or whatever. Is that like, man, when I need to get it done, I'm the guy that solved it. He got it done. He got it done fast. And like, I don't know how many times, actually, really, how many times we got work that was just, we could get it done in the due date that was needed. Just like, oh yeah, well, I'll figure it out. And, we'll do extra hours or whatever it is just to get it done to that due date. And, those are the things that on top of normal work that really set you over budget. If you add in that one difficult project into stuff, or one project that just didn't wedge in there, but you went, no, just bring it in. I'm not saying no, let's do this. All of a sudden your month went from, X to Y, and that gain there was only because of that extra effort.
That reminds me of the famous Woody Allen quote. I don't know if he invented this idea, but 80% of success is showing up.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you don't have to be the best, but you really should be the most reliable. Because if you're the person who is, doing the work when you say you're doing the work and finishing when you say you're going to finish, you're just going to keep getting more work. It's just how it goes. Like, I got a bunch of work, freelance work, when I was doing commercials, because a guy in town, he was the guy that everyone went to, for when they had a problem. And then I was the guy that he went to when he had a video deal, because I was there on time whenever he needed someone to shoot. And I wasn't the best shooter, far from it. But just being reliable it helps people to not look like fools to whoever they're trying to impress.
Totally. I think the other part of it too, for me, is don't let people be waiting on you. Yeah. So it's one thing if you're making a deadline, they're waiting for the project. That's different. But if you guys are doing correspondence, always make sure that if there's any great amount of time that's passing, that it's on them, that they are the one that's taking time, not you. I like this for answering emails. If anything, just getting it back in their cart. One, makes you quick to respond, but two, they always feel like they know where you're at with them. I know as a manager, I really appreciated knowing where I was at with my employees. And sometimes it was just them keeping good updates with me. And so I think that those feelings of appreciation for someone's hard work, sometimes is just how you did it, not necessarily the work that you completed.
Yep. So another thing that kind of was buried in that, the original thing you were talking about, Chris, is the reels, your demo reels.
Yeah.
So, the thing that you said was make sure that your demo reel is really focused on a specific thing for a specific group. And I would extrapolate that and say that, yes, you should do that, but that doesn't mean that's the only thing that you should do. So,
totally.
For example, if you're making aerial video for agriculture, great to have that aerial video for agricultural demo reel that you send to the local farmers. But you don't want to show that to the architects, right? Like, even though the skills probably translate really well, the aerial video skills, if you want to get business from architects, show some footage that is going to impress architects, probably of buildings, right?
Totally.
And landscapes.
Well, it reminds me, just when you want to get a better job in general, and in the higher end job that you get, the more money you want to get paid, the more specific your resume should be.
Yeah.
And your proposal should be. I don't know how many times I saw salesmen just rinse and repeat some proposal they gave somebody else and just change the names and stuff. But the knowledge you gain about doing some research about somebody or making it specific about it sometimes can be that special touch. Man, my wife, she has a company that knows what she likes to drink. And so she'll get a bottle of her favorite wine every once in a while. And that it's her favorite is the thing that really impresses her. Not that she gets wine, that she can buy her wine herself, but that they remembered that thing about them. But the making sure you're just on top of things is really, really key. But I think the make the resume, make the demo reel for the job you want. It might be more work, and you probably will. This is like the only spec work I'd ever say do in the way of like making it to get that thing. But that, given this is not a problem, I think, for people that have been around a really long time or have a lot of avenues, right? This isn't something that you're going to do every year of your whole life to get every job you want. It's going to be a certain area in your life, time in your life that push is necessary to get to that next level.
The spec work.
Yeah. And well, the idea of making I mean, the thing is how long does it take to make a montage to a song? I mean, it's really, just make sure to keep your best stuff aside, make a bunch of, because I can't say I'm going to sit through more in a minute. If you haven't impressed me in a minute in your video, you're not going to impress me. I'm not going to keep on looking for something to be impressed unless I just have a bunch of crap to look through. Then I'm going to start looking for the shiny needle in the haystack.
I'll tell you this. I've seen a bunch of demo reels. I don't give them a minute. I click through the timeline. I'll just randomly pick points. And if the shot that, if I'm looking for someone who can shoot, I'm looking for good shots. And if I'm impressed, then I'll go back and watch the whole thing.
See them in context or to see if there's exactly. Yeah,
but if I click through and the random ones are no good, I'm done.
Yeah, it doesn't take a whole lot. Yeah. And that's why I like even making a good resume. It's like, for video work, show me what you can do.
Yep.
I don't want you to come here and do work. I mean, although that's the showing up to do something, show up for a favor. It's a really, it's a hard thing for people to ask for favors. So when they ask for those things, sometimes there's a lot of leverage in them. And so, being that guy that can make up for I did this, it was a rodeo, and their normal camera guy, because it's just the guy that that shoots the camera that gets put on the projector so the people from the nosebleeds can actually see the bull ride. And the guy was sick. And I had made the commercial for the Western store that was sponsoring the event. And it was like literally the day before, hey, can you work tomorrow? I was like, and they made it, they paid me well. But I, at first was just kind of like, well, yeah, I mean, we've done business, whatever. Like, I'll help you out. And it's funny because I got a call every time the rodeo was in town. That guy lost his job to me just because he was sick the one time, and I was able to come in and show up. And I eventually didn't really like doing the work, but maybe that's why no one did it very well. But it was like, your chance sometimes is only until you have it. And sometimes it just goes away. So until you're, it's no good to be pulled by the nose around, people, or by the ear, I guess that's the term, just doing people's beck and call and stuff. But sometimes when you have the position to do a easy favor for someone, it can pay in spades over time. And like all this stuff, it's all the relational stuff that I think is really key. Why would you do anything for your best friend? Because of the things they've done for you, and the situations you've been in. And I think those things are just as important in business as they are in anything else.
So I've got a few more tips that are not the sexiest topics. But before we get to that exciting content, which I just teased.
That was a good tease, right? Before you stick around for the crap we got later.
It's really, I don't want to pat myself on the back too much, but this is important advice. But at any rate, let's take a quick break before we come back. Videomaker has been the go-to website for video production professionals and enthusiasts since 1986. There's a reason a quarter of our audience has been following us for more than 10 years. Simply put, our content makes our audience better at producing video. For whatever level you're at, we have the content to get the quality of work where you want it to be. Nobody knows this better than our Videomaker Plus members. With exclusive offers and access to courses, webinars, back issues, and the digital magazine, they're able to stay up on the top of their production game. So now we want our podcast listeners to get in on the exclusive access. For a limited time only, we're offering a $100 discount to our Professional Plus annual membership. That's 42% off the normal price. To claim this exclusive deal, go to videomaker.com/2020plus. That's videomaker.com/2020plus. PLUS, not the symbol. It only takes a minute to sign up, and you'll get immediate, unrestricted access to all of our content. Don't wait. This offer will not be around for long, and you just can't ignore the benefits. That's $100 you can save that can go straight to new gear, software, accessories, whatever you want for your production setup. Don't wait. This offer won't be around for long. Once again, claim your exclusive offer now at videomaker.com/2020plus. Okay, and we're back. Okay, so now to this maybe uninteresting but really important advice.
Really important.
It's really important. Okay, so this is something that can sink a freelancer or can sink a business, even with lots of paid work. You've got to get your accounting in order and learn how to collect money. Lots of businesses fail because they can't figure out a way to get their clients to pay the bills.
Crazy.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So this does happen. You do work. Maybe you have a contract. Hopefully you have a contract. You agree on the price. You finish it. You go back to the client and say, thank you for your business. Now please pay me. And people dodge. They
Totally.
dodge. And they might not be doing it intentionally. People are busy. They have businesses to run.
Yeah.
They have lives to lead.
Or more important bills to pay first.
Yeah, yeah. But that it's a skill that you really have to get used to and get good at, which is collecting money.
And here's how I think of it. It's the planting the seeds. So you start the project, and when you're doing the contract, you go, I'm net 30, just so you know, and or net 15, and that term means that's how many days you have to pay.
Yeah.
Some people will ask for net 90, those kinds of things, and I wouldn't offer anybody credit that much time. But I always try to mention that because just like anything, an end date is always good to have.
Yeah.
That you owe me at this time. It's not that there's going to be, you can be flexible. It's not about being real rigid there, but it's about planting the seed because you don't want it to be harder to sell later. And so they sign the contract. I'm that kind of thing. And then now there's a lot of really great invoicing apps.
Yep.
Have all that stuff ready. So as soon as you finish the project, they get an email with the invoice, and it has the terms on it. It has all the things you need that itemized that they're going to need to know as far as what they're paying for, and immediately have it. The good thing about that is, say that's a shoot, and then you still have something to deliver to them. You might want to wait until you're done with the product, but maybe it's you talk about that beforehand. But it's always easier to talk about all that stuff before you've done the work.
Yeah,
and to set up those things, and and sometimes it's setting up real, it's real life. Hey, I don't have a lot of work right now, so I really need this money when we're done. I'm going to need you to pay me sooner than later. I mean, that sucks to have to say those kinds of things, but that gives them a reason to know why you're hounding them afterwards.
Yeah.
And it's no fun to have to call twice for money. I mean, no one wants to do that with a friend. No one wants to I don't want to ask for money twice. I want to go, this is what you owe me, you pay me. And I think that's a stand-up thing to do. But that's my own personality. Some people, that's not the leader in their world. So you got to make sure to put those confines on them and to find them up front, because it is part of the deal. It really is, that if they need to 90 days to pay you, then maybe you need to charge them more, or, that there isn't anything money can't fix in these situations, right? Like, if we are not coming to terms, let's find the terms that we are agreeable on.
Yep.
And that's just where it is. And I could say this much, I worked at a TV station that, did millions of dollars in business every year, and they wouldn't take credit from nobody. If you hadn't proven that you have a good pay on time schedule, they weren't extending any credit to you because it didn't make any business sense to do so. And I think, during hard times, sometimes I guess, but I think that's a place of destitute that you don't want to even get into.
Yeah.
And I think that just being upfront about it, don't nickel and dime people over small things after there are billable things and there are non-billable things.
Mm-hmm.
And, be aware of agreeing on a price and changing that price. If you think there's going to be extra added costs in there, say it's going to be more and then charge them less when at the end. Those things, I mean, no one will ever do that. No one ever ends up rebating the money back, but that's a better place to be at than going, oh man, I can't cover this. I have to pay this invoice to get this work done, and I need you to pay me first to be able to do this kind of thing. Yeah. And the last thing you want to do is be getting money from one client and paying the other client's bill with it. And then all of a sudden it's real hard to keep track of.
Yeah.
And I don't like asking for money. I don't like running the books. I don't like doing math.
Mm-hmm.
But if you can't do those things, you're not going to be successful, and you're never going to know how much potential you have or how much potential you're losing out on unless you're keeping good books.
Yeah. And you can hire someone on a contract basis to help you with.
Yeah.
If you don't want to be the bad guy who has to call them 6 times to get your client to pay their bill.
In fact, here's a good tip. A lot of times if you have a bank, if it's a local community bank, they'll do that for you.
There you go.
And they'll
That's a great tip.
And they'll do the first warning for free half the time. So they'll send the letter because they want you getting paid.
Yeah.
But then usually after that, when it starts going down the trickle of collections, then they'll start asking for a percentage or whatever. But that's even better. If a bank's calling for the money, I mean, it's a great, and a lot of community banks will do that for you for small businesses.
Yeah. So a couple things that'll make this a little bit easier. One is you can charge a portion of the total cost up front, which you recommend.
Yeah, just take a deposit.
Yeah, 25% up front, 50% up front.
And that buys the credit. I mean, that's always how I felt. It was like, if it's net 90, cool. Well, then I'm going to need half of the payment, whereas I would have taken a third or whatever it was. Just, you could just dice it up differently. I mean, all relationships can be made in any way possible.
You can use a boilerplate credit application. If you don't feel comfortable normally even doing a net 30, you want to be paid immediately, but someone is insisting on net 30 or 60 or 90, you can get a credit application, and people will have to give you references of businesses they've worked with in the past. You can call them and say, does this business or does this person pay their bills on time?
Yeah.
And that'll help you out with having some peace of mind.
Yeah, and if you know your area, the recommendations are going to be. I mean, hopefully you're not going to have to call all of them. And this is the TV station had the same thing. Give us another advertising company that you pay, and we want to talk to them to see just pretty much what you're paying, your payment history. This isn't something you're going and running their credit and doing all that kind of crap. This isn't, I mean, you could make it. I mean, the good thing is just asking for a credit app legitimizes what you're doing as on the up and up. I think having that kind of stuff, but having it just ready, is always a great thing. Just having it in your repertoire of things to do. And I think, I mean, there are really a lot of really easy, especially if you're a single or small 3 people crew or something like that. There are apps to help keep track of all this stuff really easily, taking pictures of your, of receipts and getting those into spreadsheets and all that kind of stuff. There are ways to do this, so it's really not painful. Now, the more complicated your business is, the more successful your business is, the more important it is. And, of course, hiring anybody about your money, when you fire them, sometimes they're let off in handcuffs, right? So be careful with that, because people that have connect to your money, but not trusting people is not good either. But it's being mindful of that, having a place. But it's not hard to find a reputable accountant. In fact, hopefully every accountant has someone that's willing to vouch for them. If they got the numbers right once, they're going to do it. Probably give a good recommendation.
So I've got 2 more kind of quick tips that are not the most exciting topics, but maybe after that, Chris, I'll plant a seed in your mind now to start thinking. But
I have a really exciting one that you're going to want to stick around for. I don't know what it is yet, but
I was going to say we should try to think up some gear recommendations, some not necessarily specifics, but just sort of kits. But before we get to that, so you mentioned the I'm going to call it client relationship, customer relationship, of sending someone their favorite blank bottle of wine, chocolate, beer, whatever. So this is something that I'd never heard of, this concept, which is kind of, a lot of people will consider this kind of no duh, but get yourself a CRM, a customer relationship management software package. And what this does is it will keep track of all your communications with that customer and allow you to keep notes about them. So that you don't have to do things like actually remember someone's favorite wine.
Yeah, totally.
You just put that in the notes that their dog's name is Bowser and they like to drink Apothic Red Cabernet.
Totally.
And that's probably not a thing, but
and
that's what, and their birthday is blank.
Totally.
And then you don't have to think about it. And when you go to talk to that person again via email or on the phone, you bring up their record. It's all in front of your face, and you can go, "Oh, how's Bowser doing?" Or whatever it is.
I think for me, I only have so much space in my head for daily life and all that kind of stuff. The more automatic things that I can build that are going to trigger whatever I'm doing to change paths or whatever, so I can really focus on what I want to, is really important to me. And so you can do that. I mean, like setting up drip campaigns to, at the beginning of a month to strum up business, getting an email list, trying to start attracting people's emails and getting to learn about them. Just even keeping a good book of all your clients, where they are, sending them a Christmas card. I mean, the thing is even a notepad that has your brand on it that they use every day is going to be helpful for you. And it's probably going to pay a lot more than that $5 for that notepad or whatever it was. Those kinds of things that remind it's just the little things. I mean, crap, if it's a pen and every time they're writing a check, they're thinking of you. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, unless it's the negative, but most of the time that should be good. So I think that the being able to set up these things as just, reoccurring things that come up, just like setting a calendar invite, those things are going to be very valuable to you, just so you can have the space to do the other things if you're having to balance a lot of things. And I think as a freelancer, you end up being a generalist most of the time, unless you're specifically a freelance drone pilot or something. But I think if you're outside of big metropolitan areas, likely you're going to be doing all of the jobs, or you might do one of a lot of jobs on different gigs and whatnot. And being flexible there is going to probably get you more work.
Yeah, so you can go to Google, just type in free CRM. There's a bunch of them. I can't recommend any because I've only used 2. But if you do check out free CRM, I'm sure you'll find, business sites that review these kinds of things.
Yeah, it used to be the Rolodex, right?
Yeah.
I remember my grandpa had a Rolodex, always had a bunch of 3x5 cards. He wrote notes on the back of the 3x5 cards. He used a stapler for their business card. And so he could just pull their name up and you do that. Same thing, just all on a computer, way more organized. You don't have to read your handwriting, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So the next one is the last unsexy thing I'll mention, and then maybe we can talk about gear, but is learn to use Excel and learn to use to use it to help you with math, essentially.
Boo.
Sorry, Chris.
I don't like that one.
You said you didn't like math. You didn't say you weren't good at math.
Well, yeah. I don't know if I'm bad at it. I like being creative. It's a lot more fun.
But Excel is, for anyone who's doing business, is really, really handy for doing calculations, essentially. If you need to figure out how much something is going to cost you in the end, in terms of all the individual expenses, plus how much you plan to make on it, plus your time, Excel is the tool to figure that stuff out. So when you go into a project, you don't end up losing money on it because you were unprepared. You didn't know what you were walking into financially. And
it's a great thought experiment. I mean, it's a good way to think about the project. I mean, if you're getting prepared for something, think it all out, put it in a spreadsheet. You're going to have a better vision of whatever the project is in general. And then you're going to have these records, that's going to say what you intended, right? Maybe you said you thought you're going to do 6 hours and it ended up being 4. Cool. You learn that, if you're able to go and audit your spreadsheet and look at those things and look back. And I think this is going to be my, I guess, a tip that I think is really valuable. If you have people that like your work, get it on record.
Oh yeah.
If it's just your phone, pulling out your phone and them saying, hey, it was so great working with Chris. He helped me, blah, 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 blah. Some people don't want to do it, but that's why it's nice with a phone. It could be really, not a big deal. But then when maybe you're doing a presentation to someone that does something similar, or that person has some clout and you're able to show their little testimonial of them really saying it, it does go a long way. It builds trust.
Yep.
Just like a good cover letter or something else that people will write for you, recommending you and everything. I don't think much goes further than a good recommendation. If I trust you and you gave me a recommendation to something, I'd have to say most of the time I'm going to go with that. I don't think people really want to go struggling with what they're going to do and how they're going to choose it. As soon as someone defines themselves as what you need, half the time, okay, is it the price? Cool, let's do it. It's no good to go, the person got 15 quotes on their wedding video. And it's like, yeah, I don't want that client.
Yeah.
Exactly. Especially a wedding. My goodness, what a bride that would be, or groom or whatever. But it's already a picky person. The good thing is if you are successful enough to have a lot of business, you can pick your clients. And, that's like picking your neighbors. Oh my gosh, that'd be so amazing, wouldn't it?
We all would hope to be in that situation someday where we can pick our clients.
Well, and if you have a good enough relationship with people, it's like, man, I just want to keep on working and making those people happy. New business is always very difficult to get, but sometimes most lucrative. But that client that keeps on coming back, they're that baseline for you. They're the people. It kind of reminds me of like Patreon. Those are the people that believe in you and are just keeping you going and believing in what you're doing and give you business at a rhythm, and you can get it. That's great. And I even like to figure out with a client, to figure out what that rhythm is so that you know when's the next time they're going to need something. So for commercials, it was really easy. It was like, what kind of business you doing? When's your next sale? What's the rhythm of what's your slow time? Those kinds of things, finding out about people can be very helpful to, going and asking for more work. Cause what's better than, you all of a sudden going, I need this thing. This person is like, hey, I can do it for you. And you're like, oh, cool. Here you go. I love that. I love it when I can, it's something, especially if I didn't want to do it either. And I think video work for some people is totally that. And other people will be like, oh yeah, get really into it. And then that's when you bring them into the edit suite and you have them sit behind you while you edit, and then they never come back again because people really don't want to be involved. They want to be involved, but they don't really want to be involved. They'll say they want to be involved, but when push comes to shove, the work is not what they want to do. Otherwise they'd be doing it.
People don't realize how complicated it is to make even a simple video. So
I mean, and it's good to show that off. I mean, especially for a client that might not get what you're doing, but if you have unappreciative clients, don't keep on working on them. I mean, take the business, but keep on looking for those clients that are going to trust you and grow with you and want to do more with you every time you do something. And if you're doing a good job, that's what's going to happen. Not all business can do that. I mean, it's not like everybody needs a commercial every week, but car dealerships do.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, let's talk about some gear, right?
Yeah.
So it's really difficult, I would say impossible, to recommend a specific piece of gear to everyone, right? We talk about this all the time internally here, like how do you choose the best blank when everyone has different needs?
Yeah.
And you can't really. Everyone has to look into the specifics themselves to decide for themselves what's gonna work out for them. So we just released the podcast on the best products of 2020. We should not pretend that is the best list for everyone and for all purposes.
Yeah. And that's, we always struggle with these things. I mean, we have to think about who our audience is and what they're really looking for, and like, we wouldn't be able to go, hey, yeah, get that 60,000 RE. $16,000 RE, we just can't recommend that to our audience. So we always keep those things in mind, but that more so, it reminds me of, I always get to this analogy for a lot of things, but that a Swiss Army knife, that's a crummy knife, right? But it has a fork. And it's got a spoon and it's got fingernail clippers.
Those are the really awesome Swiss Army knives, by the way, the ones that have the knife and the spoon.
Yeah, they have. Well, yeah, exactly. But the knives, like, if you needed to whittle something, it'd be a crummy knife. Or you needed to gut a pig, you couldn't do it with it. I don't know if you're gonna do that, but regardless, it's a crummy knife. So if I'm offering you a camera that's gonna be good for everybody, it's likely not going to be really great for anybody. Yeah, it's just going to cover all the bases, and that's the balance sometimes, because it's like, feature set to value is something that we are always balancing and debating about. And so it's difficult to go, this is the right one. And that's why we make categories. I mean, honestly, if we were just saying best camera, that's hard. Yeah. If you don't define it or narrow your field of view.
So I think that in this case, the thing we should really consider is, when should you rent versus when should you buy versus when should you DIY? I didn't mean to rhyme, but there we have it. And also, when should you invest in pizzazz? So this is like the idea of, which Chris and I talk about a lot, bringing the big heavy camera out when actually the small light camera actually takes the better image.
Yeah. When's the thing that it is it could even be a dummy camera just to bring the razzle dazzle, bring the Hollywood to the set or whatever.
Yeah. So another category that I would sort of throw in here is a drone. Right. So a lot of times a drone doesn't really help, tell the story that you're trying to tell or, communicate anything specific. But what it does do is it gives your client a new perspective on something that they're quite familiar with. Like most people probably haven't seen an orbital shot around their own home. And so when they see something like that, it's like, wow, it's really impressive.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's what I'd throw in that pizzazz category.
Yeah, I agree with that. Bringing out the sled and vest, that'll do it sometimes too. There's certain things, the jib, bringing out certain tools. Oh man, they're really bringing out the big guns.
Yeah, so the jib is one of those ones where the jib shot is rare, I guess, in at least in smaller productions. So if there's a jib shot in a wedding and someone sees that in your demo reel, it's like, wow, that looks like Hollywood magic. Getting that change in angle. So that's what I would throw in the pizzazz category. Yeah. Everyone will have to, determine for themselves how important the pizzazz is and in what categories they should invest in. And also they got to determine, is it worth paying, a premium to own this piece of gear?
Yeah.
And really comes down to, in all those categories, at least the rent or own, is how often are you going to use it, really, right? And drone might be one of those categories. Maybe people don't really rent drones that much unless it's like made for cinema cameras or something.
Yeah, and I think even then you'd probably have to have a bond or something, because
you probably actually get a licensed pilot or something.
You crash that stuff, and it's not gonna be good.
Yeah, but if you're going to get an Alexa for a project, you don't need to go out and buy it. Probably best to rent that.
Yeah, totally. I think it's all about ROI, right? It's like, what's the return on the investment if it makes sense.
You got to punch it all into Excel.
Yeah, right. That's exactly what whenever someone asks me what the best thing is, sometimes I respond to them of what you have already. It gives me a good perspective on maybe the things you don't like or the things you're trying to get to. Or if you say, I want to get something like this, it might give you a good jumping off point of like, oh, that's where you came from. Okay. But sometimes you'll just find, like I am, someone that's all of a sudden really excited about the newest technology.
Yeah.
And the answer really is, you don't need anything new. You probably want something new, but or a light would serve you better, or the things that aren't fun to spend money on. But the rent and buy, I think those things go hand in hand. If I was going to buy a camera, if I was going to spend any significant amount of money on a camera, I would surely rent it before I buy it. And I would rent it for a really short period of time, so I'd have the least amount of money in the actual rental, unless it's for a project and you're just going to use it during the project. That's great. But if you're like in the idea of I'm a brand, I think most always you're gonna save money by either solidifying, yes, this is what I want, or realizing this is no go. And I can tell you from experience shooting just about every camera that's come out in the last 5 years, that sometimes your expectations don't meet the feature list. And that thing that sounded really cool has really no practical use. Or just like the fork. You really gonna use that fork on the Swiss Army knife? No, but you probably use the tweezers all the time to get the things out.
Pro tip for campers out there. I learned this from my dad.
Pro
Very
tip.
wise man. Anything you can eat with a fork, you can eat with a spoon. Who needs the fork?
Yeah, you don't need to. I guess you can't really stab.
The only exception was spaghetti.
Spaghetti.
Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of loops out. How do you eat a steak with a spoon?
Oh, you just so this is for campers, right?
Yeah.
So
I have steak when I go camping.
The steak, you don't even need the spoon. You stab it with the tip of your
knife. Okay, yeah. So it's another thing on top of the knife.
Yeah.
But
anyway,
I'm sorry. I think it's. Well, I get disillusioned with gear, and whenever someone that hasn't visited Videomaker for a little while, I'll bring them into the studio and what new thing do I have, and I'll show it to them. And what do you know about it? I don't know. I got it last week, and it's sitting here. And it's hard to get excited about things. It's like, I got 5 other things that are pretty exciting in there. And the bigger thing is what am I going to use it for? And so I think that a lot of times we get into getting a new thing of like what it could do for us, but figure out what you can do with what you got first, find your limitations, and then try to grow on those limitations. Don't just find a new feature.
Yep.
So the TV station that we worked with, that I worked at, we shot on a Canon 7D, not even a Mark II, just a 7D, with the lens that we had. I think we spent $1,500. We used that camera for 3.5 years, with each year booking about $100,000 in production. This is significantly discounted production, but regardless, this is the one camera we used for multiple years, making over $100,000 each year with this camera that was $1,500. Yep. So, realize that, one, they can be huge money makers for you.
Yeah.
But are you going to make more money with another camera? Or could you just keep on using that one? Is it exciting to continue to use that old piece? No. But as far as good business goes, it's probably not a good idea unless you need a write-off for your business to continue to buy new gear all the time. but sometimes it makes a lot of good tax sense.
Yeah.
So you want to pay attention to those things, but that a lot of times you just don't need that new piece of gear. And I actually think coming to terms with, I don't need this, but I want it, and still buying it is still a better place than really lusting for it and then not using it. I think having make that choice, no, I want to splurge. I want this new thing because I deserve it, or for whatever reason you're justifying it. At least you know that I didn't buy this because it really is, how do you justify to your wife another camera?
I think it comes down to what kind of clients are you working with, right? So if you're doing wedding videos, you're probably, there's no reason to upgrade to, some crazy level for a negligible increase in quality. Whereas in other cases, if you're like working for ad agencies or something, where saying something like, I shoot on red is meaningful, then that is worth it. Even if like the weddings, even if the quality is a negligible upgrade, sometimes having those specifics really does help.
Yeah. I also think, weddings, they're not going to get married again. I mean, hopefully they're not going to get married again, right? So the clients that you're getting from that wedding are other people getting married. So the increase in my my video isn't helping those clients in the past, right? So how is it moving forward going to help edify your production in general? Like, is it going to make it easier to produce something? I've had so many new computers that are like, you get them and they're like, oh, you're salivating. Oh man, I can do all these things. And then a few weeks later, everything's just as chugging and having a hard time as it was before, except for now I have five times the amount of effects on it. And I am now working in 4K and all these kind of things, but I gained really nothing to my workflow speed. And now I'm doing all these new things, but did the work actually need it? Yeah. How are your customers wanting 4K, or are they just saying that? Not that you'd want to shoot it in HD and then output it as 4K if you're selling 4K, but I almost guarantee you no one would tell you the difference.
Yeah, that's just a hard question you got to ask yourself.
That's an eternal ethical thing. But regardless, just more of the way of technology and impressing people and those kinds of things. Those flash things actually might give you more clout than the thing that, right off the street, I shoot on red, I shoot on Ari. They care less. It doesn't really matter. I shoot on a cinema camera. I shoot raw. All those things that we just go, ooh, oh, that's sexy. I like that. No, I don't care. What's red? Does it capture any other colors? I don't know. It doesn't. So you just got to be careful, I think, with that gear lust, because it is so. I get to have all these cameras that are here, and I still like having all those choices a burden. Like this morning, it took me 30 minutes to get shooting because I started with one camera and then moved to another one and then moved to another. I mean, these are not big problems to have, but it's like, if I just had one camera, I would have already been done shooting. So what's the benefit of having all these awesome things that are here to choose from? Now I'm just in a weird place now of choosing my next standard camera I'm going to use. But typically, just having that one there, it's not to complain about. You don't have to learn it again. You don't have to get that muscle memory. All those things are very valuable, that training you had with the camera of knowing where those features are. I can tell you how embarrassing it is to try to shoot something and having to be going through a menu of a new camera that you don't actually quite know where it's at. Mm-hmm. It's nerve-wracking. I did the review of the GH4, a long time ago. And first time shooting it was with a brand new client that had high expectations. Why did I do that? I have no idea. I mean, and I was shooting in 4K for the first time for a project like this. And it was like, and I didn't know where functions were. I got through it and it actually ended up turning out really fantastic. I was really impressed. And then I had to get the camera back. But that's not always going to turn out well. Yep. Not knowing your gear on a shoot, depending on the shoot, there's no time for that. Yeah. And I definitely know if you're being hired for something and there's a director there or there's a producer there that's having you do something and you're struggling to get started when they expect you to be started, patience are pretty thin.
Yep. It's a risky thing to do for sure. Okay. Well, maybe we'll call that there, eh?
Yeah. If you guys like the Mike and Chris show differently or more than you like our interviews, or the interviews you like, we want to hear what you guys think. Put it in the comments on YouTube, I don't even know where else they can. I mean, I guess they could put in a review, but make sure to give it 5 stars if you're giving us those comments. 5 stars says, you want money in the future and good luck. I think.
Yeah. By the way,
Confucius
I was just looking at the reviews, and we've had a 5-star, perfect 5-star score on iTunes for a long time, and now we're at 4.9. Someone has given us a 4-star review.
What a punk!
Yeah,
I'm gonna find you. No, I'm just kidding. No, I mean, the thing is I think that says more legitimacy that we actually have, but it's like close to 5. Hopefully, it's probably someone doing 1 star.
The question is, how many more 5-star reviews do we have to get before we round that up to 5? Before iTunes rounds it up.
That's a hard thing there.
Yeah.
That's like your eBay score and stuff like that. It's like it sets you back so far. So what we need is, if you're listening to this, go get our score back up. You know, we're pleading with you. Go give us likes on stuff and just inflate our egos because we need it. So.
Yeah. What is it Trump said? Please like me.
Please like me.
Yeah. All right. That's the political marker. That means the podcast is over.
Yeah, I almost had something else to say, but we'll let it go.
Okay. All right. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. We'll catch you next time. Thanks, everyone, for listening. As always, if you've been listening to the podcast and you enjoy it, we'd love it if you went to iTunes or Spotify or wherever you like to get your podcasts and hit the follow button or the subscribe button or whatever it takes to get that podcast downloaded to your device every Monday morning. If you're on videomaker.com listening to this, definitely recommend going to those apps and getting the podcast there. So for Chris Monlux and everyone here at Videomaker, I'm Mike Wilhelm, and you've been listening to the Videomaker podcast. We'll catch you next time.